Dark Winds is a gritty Western noir crime series, and it's now on its third season on AMC Plus. But is Dark Winds as a whole worth your time, or should you pass on this show? Let's get started on my review of Dark Winds Season 3. Let's go.
From the town I like nothing, when I'm hopefuls live. A small city or some, but mostly no one forgets. On the outskirts of where I've been, dreaming since a kid. Thought I was cursed to never see a radio hit. A Grammy to industry or something, even close. Miles outside of
What's going on, all my beautiful people? This is Jacey, and I just finished watching all 3 seasons of Dark Winds. Now, before I do get started on my review of Season 3, please note this will be a spoiler-free review, just in case you haven't seen any of the episodes yet. Currently showing on AMC Plus. Also, the first 2 seasons are showing on Netflix right now. Also, please make sure you hit that like, hit the subscribe, hit that notification bell to stay up to date on more new Western crime shows that I'm reviewing just like this. So Dark Winds Season 3 stars Zahn McClarnon, Jessica Matten, A. Martinez, Kiowa Gordon, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, and more. Joe Leaphorn and Jim Chee investigate the disappearance of 2 local boys while grappling with the weight of Leaphorn's past and the looming threat of a supernatural figure. And one of the other characters of the show decided to leave and take a job at the US Border Patrol. It's not too much of a spoiler. And as an FBI agent arrives, this leads to a complex investigation that intertwines with that and also the mysteries on the rest of the reservation. Now, just to back up a little bit, you guys, because I know I'm reviewing Season 3, but obviously the first 2 seasons came out a couple years ago, and I wasn't necessarily doing this type of content yet. But I found out about the show only a couple of months ago, and with that being said, I binge watched those first 2 seasons like so quick, and even binge watched the 3rd season because I was so caught up in it. And the way I've always seen it is, that's how you know something is great, is if you binge watch it within a few days or a week or so. But if you know me, you know I love movies and shows that take a fresh or different angle on crime stories or noir themes. Honestly, those have to be my favorite kinds of films or even shows, aside from horror and of course cartoons. But I first heard about this show just a few months ago from my parents, and I thought, okay, I gotta give this show a chance. And when I did, it pulled me in right away. The biggest draws for sure is how it focused on the Navajo tribe, also known as the Diné. And to top it off as well, it's set with these crime stories on a reservation near the Four Corners, mainly in Arizona. That unique setting and culture added so much depth. As soon as I found out Season 3 had dropped, I jumped in, and now I think about it, I think with the first 2 seasons, I watched it in just 2 days. I mean, I binged those like nothing. It seemed like the whole rest of the world didn't exist. Kind of like when I did that with shows like Paradise, or with, you know, some of the iconic ones like Stranger Things, Game of Thrones, True Blood. I mean, the list goes on. But I was completely drawn in by another element with this show. It's set in the 1970s time period. It's so powerful with the emotional storytelling tied to the Diné people. And to top it off, there's amazing acting, and that kept me captivated throughout all of these seasons. I will get into a lot of those aspects a little more in depth, but first, let's talk about this current season because it is fresh, it is new, and if you're watching this right now and you have no idea about this show, let me just tell you, this is binge-worthy for sure. And if you're someone who has already been keen to the show, you've already been watching it, I'm gonna give you my overview of Season 3 because that just ended and I loved it. It's my favorite season so far. Now, Season 3 gives us a fresh mystery with high stakes, blending 2 major cases: a smuggling operation near the US border and a shocking disappearance set on Navajo land. Now, with this show, another thing I do have to say, more in particular with this latest season, is that the story here pulls from books that were written by Tony Hillerman, but it adds its own twists, keeping things very interesting throughout. While some plot lines feel a little stretched or uneven throughout this season, it keeps you hooked with its mix of suspense and emotional weight. We also get to follow the main characters on their own separate journeys, which adds depth. Though it sometimes feels a little slower in pace, it still all ties together by the end, making it one satisfying ride. The first season gave us a very good introduction into Navajo culture, the Diné people, their beliefs, all those things, and it circles around a murder that takes place, and you're following some of the main characters, all those things. Second season had to do with digging into the past of Zahn McClarnon's Lieutenant Joe character. and that was more intriguing. I felt like that was also a little bit of a step up, but not too much from the first season. Still good though and solid, but this third season did something that I did not expect. You have those two plot lines that adds more depth to this world building of this season and just this whole show altogether, but it also threw in some horror elements that I was not expecting. So that was another reason why I was like, okay, enough is enough. I gotta talk about this show. Whether I'm reviewing one of the older seasons 1 through 2, or seasons 1 through 3, or just this latest season, I just have to talk about it on my channel. So when it comes to the acting altogether, Zahn McClarnon gives another amazing performance in this latest season, and throughout all the seasons. He really hasn't missed. And his character, Lieutenant Joe Leaphorn, shows a lot of emotion only when it's needed. His character is dealing with some deep guilt from the past in this latest season, and he shows that pain a lot differently in this season, and it feels so real. His performance is captivating. He almost steals the show, to be honest, although you do get invested with some of the other characters like Bernadette, who's stationed over there at the US border, and also Chee, who has an interesting arc. I won't say too much, but his job has shifted over the past couple of seasons for sure. McClarnon's acting though is subtle but powerful, especially when Leaphorn faces scary moments and emotional battles. Jessica Matten, who plays Bernadette Manuelito, plays the role with strength and quiet determination in this latest season. Now we also have to talk about Kiowa Gordon's Chee, who's working on reconnecting with his community and past in this latest season. But the chemistry between all three leads makes this season feel grounded and more real than ever. At first, when this season began, I started to see the supernatural element. I started to see some of that emotional weight that Joe Leaphorn was dealing with, but also these different storylines. And I thought, all right, my only worry, especially with a lot of shows like this, is that it will not tie in very great at the end. Some shows cannot really stick the landing when they have too much going on. And with this, it satisfied me even at the end when it all just tied up pretty neatly. Now we got to talk about the cinematography because I'm in Arizona, I live here, and so I was loving the landscapes, the shots, all those things throughout all three seasons, to be honest. But this season looks very, very beautiful. The wide desert landscapes are captured with care, giving the show a unique feel. Dream sequences inspired by the Diné people are haunting and creative in this season. One scene with Leaphorn under the effects of, let's say, something that's going on that has to do with the main story is both strange and moving, and that had to be one of my favorite episodes for sure. The way it's shot, it shows his grief in a way that feels very honest. The lighting and camera work gives the show a slightly eerie mood, which works well with this story and in season 3 in particular. Everything from the costumes to the settings feels true to the time and place of 1970s near the location, helping us stay immersed. They did an amazing job with showing the beauty that is Arizona and New Mexico and even near the Four Corners. Another thing I do have to bring up and go a little more in depth on is the horror in this season. Season 3 leans more into the spooky side of things. A frightening creature from Navajo stories called the Ye'itzo, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but I apologize if I butchered that a little bit. It appears and begins to haunt Leaphorn throughout this season. Whether it's real or in his mind, it brings real fear and tension. I love how it's slowly immersed throughout this season, and I love how you don't see it too much, but you don't see it too little, but it works as a story device to help you feel what Leaphorn is going through. And I gotta say, me being a horror fanatic, these scenes were definitely my favorite, but they're chilling, especially when it's tied to Leaphorn's guilt and regret. The show doesn't really rely on cheap scares. Instead, the horror comes from emotional pressure and the fear of being haunted by something from beyond. Now, here are my final thoughts, you guys. Dark Winds is a show that is gripping, emotional, and filled with layered characters throughout. I mean, just speaking about all seasons, you should definitely be watching it right now. It explores important themes like grief, loyalty, and justice in a way that feels thoughtful and respectful. Now, while the pacing can be slow at times throughout all 3 seasons, to be honest, some parts in this latest season could have been trimmed a bit. The strong acting and rich cultural backdrop make this a show worth watching. It balances crime, personal drama, and spiritual horror better than most shows out there. So I implore you to go and watch this show. At least give it a chance. If crime is not your thing or Western war type of shows, I get it. but this one is for sure unique, and I feel like we need more shows and films like this. So if you are looking for something different and you're kind of tired of some of the same stories told over and over again or just slightly tweaked, you'll definitely like this one. With all that being said, I'm going to give Dark Winds seasons 1 through 3 4 flames out of 5 and a fire show rating.
It's good. It's good.
Dark Winds Season 3 in particular shines thanks to Zahn McClarnon's outstanding performance and a deep emotional storyline for Lieutenant Leaphorn. The show does a great job of weaving in powerful themes like guilt and love, making the characters feel truly real. The partnership between Leaphorn and Chee in this latest season returns stronger than ever, building on what made the first 2 seasons so memorable, while the gripping mysteries keep getting deeper and deeper. On the downside, some storylines could have been tightened up a little bit or trimmed, and fans hoping for more progress in Chee and Bernadette's relationship might feel a bit let down, but I love how this season ended. It has some hopeful optimism for them in the future. So although there were quite a bit of great episodes throughout this season, I thought I'd give you guys my top 3, with some of my favorite episodes being episode 1 titled Big Monster, episode 6 titled What We Had Been Told. That's the amazing episode of the immersive experience of seeing the desert and you don't know what's real or not. It definitely had me on the edge of my seat for sure. And finally, episode 8 with the season finale being titled Iron Horse. I had a blast this season, and yes, I definitely recommend this show. All right guys, so have you seen any seasons or any episodes of Dark Winds yet? If you have, let me know what you thought of any of the seasons overall in the comments. Last thing before I do go, you guys, please make sure to hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that notification bell to stay up to date. My name is Jacey, and until next time, I'm out.